Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning as we are studying together a new Parashat Mishpatim. Pasuk begins, Ve'ele ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. And these are the laws that you are to place in front of them. Our Parashat is called Mishpatim. A mishpat is a law that makes sense. We know that we have two types of commandments basically. We have Mishpatim and we have chukim. There is a Parashat Mishpatim, and there is a Parashat actually called Parashat Hukat. Laws, a chok is a law that we don't necessarily understand. Example, para aduma. Yes, it's the idea that you could sprinkle the ashes of a red heifer on an individual and then he becomes pure. Like how does that work? Why does that make him pure? And not only that, but there's paradoxes within para aduma. So as an example, not only does he become pure, the guy who's sprinkled on a certain level becomes tameh. There's inconsistency, or at least it seems like. So these are called chukim, right? And we each have, we have many mitzvot. If I asked you to divide them, I'm sure you would be able to do it very easily. What are the laws that are part of mishpatim? What are the laws that are rational? Right? What would you think of one? Right? I'll give you a minute. Take a second. Try to think of a mitzvah that is a mishpat. Right? Don't kill. Don't steal. These are right. Adultery. These are make sense. And then there's a mitzvot that don't much so make sense. You know, you can't shave with a blade. Why? Who told you that? Where'd you get that from? Without God, I wouldn't really know those mitzvot. Without God, we may still know the mishpatim. There's sichliyot. There's sechel. The Torah is made up of both. Ve'ele ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. But God says to Moshe, now I want to give you mishpatim that you should give them. The question is, we were already given mishpatim. We were already given commandments, ben adam lachavero, man to man, we were already given. And I'll prove it to you. Torah says earlier, Sham sam lo, chok u'mishpat, v'sham nisa'u. It says before we got the Torah, God gave us chok u'mishpat. We were given laws. If you remember last week, we read Parashat Yitro, where Yitro, a non-Jew, Moshe's father-in-law, comes to join the Jewish people. And the Pasuk says that when he arrives, he notices, he observes that there are certain ways that Moshe is conducting and as a leader that are not the most, what would you say? He's not maximizing his time. Yes? As an example, he was the only judge, judging from morning to night. Efficient, thank you. Word I was looking for. Yitro says to Moshe, you're judging by yourself. You need help. You need someone to help you. You need a few people to help you. Why are you standing alone judging by yourself? Now let me ask you a question. What was he judging? Judging what? Judging who? They didn't have any mitzvot. How is Moshe judging before the Torah was given? So you have to say that there were laws given. We know there were laws given. They were given certain laws. So if they were given the laws before, what does it mean? Ve'ele ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. That now they're being given the same laws again? And it goes on to list a whole parasha of laws of man to man. The Ber Yosef, Rav Yosef Tvi Salant, explains something very powerful, very beautiful. We know how rabbis told us, Derech Eretz kadma la Torah. What does that mean? Derech Eretz kadma la Torah. That before accepting the Torah, before one could accept the commandments, the 613, they first have to accept Derech Eretz. They first have to accept being a good person, what we call midot, character. In a way, I guess what it's saying is that the mitzvot that are man to man are a prerequisite to the mitzvot that are man to God. If you can't accept being nice to people, how do you expect to be nice to God? If you can't respect the space or the requests or the wishes of those around you, people that you could see, people that are in your life, if you're so selfish, if you're so arrogant that you can't even bend to a person that's physical, that you could see, then how in the world do we expect a guy to accept the authority of a God who you cannot see? Accept Hashem is a higher level. Mitzvot ben adam lahavero, man to man, are a prerequisite to man to God. First, I have to accept midot, derech Eretz, and only then am I able to also accept Torah. I believe that's what it means. Derech Eretz kadma la Torah. It's the first step to Torah. Without derech Eretz, you have no shot. You have no shot of showing authority to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Person has to first accept what it means to be a good person. I accept the mitzvot between me and another person. I humble myself. That's why, by the way, when Hashem wanted to test the Goyim, if they were ready for the Torah, so Pasuk says, Adonai Sinai ba v'zarach miseir lamo. That God, He came, our rabbis say, when He came to Sinai, He first went to Seir. Seir is where Esav lived. God asked Esav, do you want the Torah or not? Esav said, I love it. But what does it say? So God tested Esav. He said, it says you can't kill. Can you accept that or no? Esav said, can't kill, I don't accept, I'm sorry. God said, so it's not for you. And then he went to Ishmael. What does it say? God told Ishmael, it says you can't steal. He said, I can't accept. He said, so it's not for you. Moab, what does it say? Adultery. He said, it's not for you. He came to the Jews. What does it say? So there's many jokes over here. They wanted to know how much the Torah costs, right? God said, you can't do wholesale. You have to buy full price. The Jews said, we don't want it. Okay, either way, he went to the Goyim and he tested them. What did he test them with? He tested them with, don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery. What do these all have in common? These are mitzvot that are rational. These are sechli. These are man to man. What God was basically saying to Esav, to Ishmael, to Moab is that if you can't accept these, if you can't even accept the basics, if you don't have Derech Eretz, then Torah is not for you. Torah is a progression. It starts on a lower level, just like a doctor when he prescribes medicine. He first prescribes something that's easy to digest. And then, as the individual gets stronger and healthier, then he ups the medication. Hashem is a very smart doctor, right? So when He gave us the Torah, He first needs to make sure that we could accept the basics, Mishpatim. And only after the Mishpatim are we ready then to accept higher, the chukim, the mitzvot between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe you remember the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat. Gemara says there was once a non-Jew and he wanted to convert. So he came to Shammai, he said, teach me the whole Torah on one leg. Shammai said, get out of here. It's not for you. So he came to Hillel, and Hillel said to him, what did he tell him? One line. Desani lach, lahaverach la ta'abed. When you don't want to be done to you, don't do unto others. And that's the Torah. The rest, go and study. What was Hillel telling this fellow? Is that really the whole Torah? But maybe one idea based on what the Be'er Yosef is saying here, maybe what Hillel was telling the non-Jew, is before you accept Torah, first accept man to man. Desani lach. What you hate to be done to you, don't do to others. You don't like it when someone ignores your calls? Don't ignore other people's calls. You don't like it when people judge you inappropriately, so don't judge others. Give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't like it when someone talks about you, so don't talk about them. These are rational. These are mishpatim. So Hillel is very smart. Hillel said, Derech Eretz kanma la Torah. I'm not going to tell the goy now the whole Torah. I'm not going to tell him everything. He can't swallow it. First, let me give him Derech Eretz. Don't do to others. Then when you do that, the rest, now you humbled yourself. You learn to think about other people in your life. You realize you're not the center of the universe. Now, you could go and study. Ve'idach zil gemor. It's a progression. Very beautiful, very powerful thought. And mishpatim come before chukim is what basically he's saying. If you can accept the mishpatim, then you can accept the chukim. Question is, were the Jews tested before the Torah was given? Before the Torah was given, were we given mishpatim? The answer is yes, we saw before. Pasuk said, Sham sam lo chok u'mishpat v'sham nesau. That before the Torah, we were also tested. People only think he only tested the goyim, he didn't test us. It's not true. He tested us. He said, chok u'mishpat v'sham nisahu. What's nisahu? Nisayon. Tested. We were tested as well. Before the Torah was given, we had a period of time where we had to keep the mishpatim, where we had to keep the laws between man and man. Vesham nisahu. That was our test. Only after we accepted those were we now ready to accept the rest. The goyim couldn't even accept those, so they couldn't accept the rest. Only problem is, it says in that pasuk, Sham sam lo chok u'mishpat. It says that God gave us chok u'mishpat. He gave us chukim, it sounds like. But I thought man to man is mishpat. Why does it say chok? Says the Be'er Yosef, something very beautiful. The truth is, even man to man, the Torah is not only mishpat. Even man to man, not all of it is something that automatically is digestible, is rational. There are mitzvot man to man in the Torah that if you read them, you realize, okay, this is extra. This is not really fair. This is above fair. The laws of man to man, some of them are fair, but a lot of them are even higher than fair. They're higher level. They're hasidut. I'll give you an example. Don't kill. That's what? That's fair. Makes sense. Don't steal. That's fair. Yeah, you can't have. That's very simple. But how about opening parasha over here? If you have a slave, ki tekneh eved ivri, Torah speaks about a Hebrew slave, a guy that stole or whatever reason doesn't have money to pay back, so he has to sell himself. Okay, so you're selling yourself. You're a slave. Torah says you got to treat that slave equal to yourself. You got to give him the same pillow. If you sleep on a Sealy mattress, you got to give him a Sealy mattress. If you eat steak every night, you got to give him steak every night. Whatever you do, you got to give him. He's an equal to you. Now tell me, that's interpersonal, that's man to man. But in what world is that called fair? That's nowhere near fair. You tell me you can't, don't kill the guy, don't beat the guy up, but that I have to give him the same mattress as myself? I'm the boss. What do you mean? In an office today, go in, you'll know very quickly who's the CEO and who's the employee. Who's sitting on the nicer chair. Why do I have to treat my slave equal to myself? This is a mishpat, but it's a higher level mishpat. It's what we call in-betweener. Not in between the legs, tennis shot. In between, meaning it's a mishpat, it's man to man, but it's also, it has an element of chok, of what we would call maybe hasidut. Hasidut is piety. Hasidut is a higher level. Ramchal, when he talks about Hasidut in his book Mesilat Yesharim, he talks about Hasidut, how a person has to apply piety, not only man to God, not only wearing 2 tefillin and 5 tzitzit and fasting and whatever piety looks like man to God, right? You have to be pious man to man. There's Hasidut, man to man. And over here says the Be'er Yosef that the Torah itself has built into its DNA some commandments that are above. They're not just rational strictly. They have in them an element of piety. I'll give you another example. Parashat says that if you have a rich man who comes to you for a loan and a poor man who comes to you for a loan, what's the halakha? Now, business-wise, what would be a better decision? Obviously, a rich man. No question. It's more secure. Torah says, mitzvah alenu lehalvot le'ani kodem la'ashir. You have a mitzvah to give the poor guy before the rich guy. Ani ve'ashir, ani kodem. Poor and rich, poor goes first. Not only that, poor goes first. You can't hound the guy. You can't take collateral on the day that it's due. Crazy. The laws of loan, they're not at all rational. Again, no one would say in a fair society, I have an obligation to lend the poor guy first. Everyone would be called a good Samaritan if they just gave to the rich guy. In Torah's eyes, these were harder to digest, but they're part of the Mishpatim chain. They're also man to man, and you have to keep them. They're Hasidut, they're Lefnim Mishurat Adin. So it says the Be'er Yosef, these really, they're hard to swallow. But what happened? He says when the Jews accepted the Mishpatim, when the Jews accepted the laws of man to man, right? Sham Sam Lo Chokum Mishpat. When the Jews accepted the Mishpatim and we kept don't kill, don't steal, etc. So now we grew. When we grew, we were able to arrive on Har Sinai, and on Har Sinai we attained a higher level of Kedusha, a higher Neshama, a level of holiness. And once we received that higher level of holiness, now we could even accept the deeper laws of man to man. And now those laws were no longer going to be foreign and complicated to digest, because we grew by accepting man to man, simple ones. So now you're ready for man to man 2.0. And then once you're ready for man to man 2.0, now you're ready for the rest of the Torah as well. So what he's saying over here is that a minute ago, a mitzvah was a chok, right? The Jews were given chok u'mishpat. What does it mean, chok u'mishpat? They were given mitzvot man to man, but some of them were alien, they were foreign, they were difficult. They were chok. Don't lend with interest, don't take collateral, don't lend to the poor guy first, treating your slave equally to yourself. When we got that in the beginning, those were chukim. But then, once we accepted at least the mishpatim, once we swallowed those, now we rose to a level on Har Sinai where we received a higher level of Kedusha. Now, all of a sudden, all the laws, slave and collateral and loan, all those, they now became to us very obvious. Now in our eyes, they were no longer chukim. Now we understood. Of course, it's you have to treat somebody. Well, you think you're better than him? Of course you have to help the poor guy. So now our parasha begins. Ve'ele ha-mishpatim. Now these laws, they're no longer called chukim and mishpatim. They are mishpatim only. Because by accepting the Torah and growing, now certain things become digestible. The Pasuk says in Tehillim 147, Magid devarav leYaakov, chukav u'mishpatav leYisrael, lo asachen lechol goy, u'mishpatim bal yeda'um, hallelujah. Says the Be'er Yosef, Magid debarav, that God gave the debur. What are the debur? The debur is the 10 Commandments. Aseret deberot. Magid debarav leYaakov. Because we accepted the 10 Commandments, therefore, chukav u'mishpatav leYisrael. So now, all these laws that are chukim and mishpatim, that before the Torah was given, were irrational, now they're only mishpatim. They make sense. They're beautiful. However, lo asar chen lechol goy. The goyim, they couldn't hear that. You know why? Umishpatim bal yeda'um, because they couldn't accept the mishpatim. If you can't accept level 1, then how are you going to accept level 1.1? But the Jewish people, because we accepted the mishpatim, then later on, these mishpatim, we grew, and then even the chukim that we didn't understand, they become mishpatim. And that is why, by the way, Ramchal in his book, Mesilai Yesharim, he puts first zehirut. First you got to be careful on the laws, on the rational, on the basics. Then we could talk about hasidut. Then we could talk about extra. Then we could talk about piety. In life, we need to grow gradually. And we have to also understand that not only do we grow gradually, but a lot of times mitzvot to us seem very foreign. There's certain mitzvot that maybe to you or to your friend, you're trying to get them religious, you're trying to help them grow. There's some mitzvot they can't hear. You try to talk to them, they don't understand it. You have to apply a lot of wisdom when you do outreach to know how to administer, how to give over, what to give over. Not every mitzvah should be given to every Jew right away. There's certain mitzvot that the Jew not ready to hear. You have to start. Even God, He didn't give it to all of us in one shot. He started slowly. Derech Eretz. You have to first refine yourself, your character. Now you grow. Now you're ready for more. Sometimes we grew, we're on a level, and we want the people next to us who are all the way down there to be on the same level as us. And we give them right away what we're doing. Come. Here, I'm doing this, I'm fasting that, I'm eating this. What are you doing? You lost the guy. The guy is going to join you for a day, for a minute, and then he never come again. You gotta slowly reel them in. You reel them in by first giving them something that they can do. When a person does a mitzvah, even though it's man to man, by the way, you may think that there's no holiness in that. It's not true. Man to man, it's a mitzvah. At the end of the day, it's one of the 613. You do a mitzvah, all of a sudden you grow. Your soul grows. You're lighting up a light bulb in your soul and your neshama. You give a Jew, you give a person to do something nice. Now they feel good. All of a sudden, it's a little bit lighter. Then a little bit lighter. Then a little bit lighter. All of a sudden now, they're ready for maybe a mitzvah that they weren't ready for a month ago or 2 months ago or a year ago. But now they can hear it. Now they can digest it. Now they're ready. Why? Because they're growing. Growth has to be gradual. You have to know what to give, when to give. Even for ourselves. Maybe there's certain mitzvot that you're doing today, that I'm doing today, that once upon a time we thought we would never get here. This for sure. I know, you know people, ourselves. My wildest dream, I never thought I'd be doing this. I once laughed at this. That's ridiculous. Who in the world? Why do you think God cares about that? And all of a sudden, here we are. We're doing it, and we're loving it, And it makes sense. What do you mean? And we're fighting with people. If they don't do it, you have to do it. Right? What happened? You were on the other side a year ago. Because that's how growth works. What was once a hulk now becomes a mishpat. What once didn't make sense now does make sense. What once seemed like piety, extra, lifnei mishurat hadin, now it's very conceivable. It's very rational. It's very simple. Sometimes you talk to a guy, you try to tell him a basic idea, doesn't even go in, can't even hear it. They have no idea what you're talking about. He laughs at you. Simple things to me and you that are simple. The guy's lost. Why? Because the guy's far, he's very far. So you got to start with the mishpat, you got to start with the basics, with level 1. Little midot. Just treat your wife properly. That's you don't need God for to treat your wife properly. Someone's talking to you, listen to them. That's human. Just be a human. Someone's coming to you for help, that's what you should give them first. Midot, Derech Eretz. Slowly, their bandwidth widens. They're able to hear more. They're able to do more. This is not exactly the same, but similar to what the Rambam writes in the Laws of Melachim. I want to read to you Rambam. You won't believe he wrote it unless it's right here. I read to you what he writes, Laws of Melachim, chapter 11. He talks about Mashiach. And how do you know who's Mashiach? If he was killed, then he's for sure not Mashiach. He's a kosher guy, but he's not Mashiach. Then he says, Af Yeshua HaNotzri. Yeshu, Jesus. He says, Jesus HaNotzri, from Nazareth. Who is that? We know who that is. He started a religion. Shedema Sheyeh Mashiach. He thought he was Mashiach. V'neherag bebeit din. And then he was killed. So that's it. Once you're killed, you can't be Mashiach. So even if he thought he was, and they thought he was, whoever thought he was, he's not. And then look what he says. And then he continues and says that unfortunately he led many people astray. A lot of people today are following that religion. But look what he says here. Chapter 11, Halacha 7. Aval mahshevot borei olam en koach ba'adam lahasigam. He says God's ways, God's intent is not within our ability to comprehend. Ki lo derachenu derachav velo mahshebotenu mahshebotav. His ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. V'chol advarim ha'elu. Because ultimately, all the deeds of Yeshu, shel Yeshu HaNotzri, v'shel zeh HaYishmaeli, and that Arab guy, she'amad aharav, who came after him, he's talking about Muhammad, enan ella leyasher derech lamelech HaMashiach. Christianity and Islam are preparing the way for Mashiach's coming. We don't understand God. It doesn't make sense to us. But they are preparing the way. These two other religions. Letaken et ha'olam kulo la'avod et Hashem beyahad. So that the whole world will be motivated one day to serve God together. Because Mashiach, my friends, is not only for us. Mashiach is not for the Jewish people. V'hayad olam melech al kol haaretz. God is for the whole world. When Mashiach comes, we don't say that everyone else is going to die. That's not Judaism. All other religions say that. But we say when God comes, when Mashiach comes, all other religions will get inspired and see truth and then join. Hashem's for everyone. Hashem wants everyone. They're all His children. He loves everybody. He wants everyone. And some way, somehow, Christianity, Islam, they are paving the road, preparing the world, so that when Mashiach comes, they'll be ready. The Rambam over here is saying that Islam, Christianity, although maybe they are not the correct ideology, they have some errors in their theological ideas, but the idea of monotheism that they accept, whether it's the Trinity of Christianity or just pure monotheism like Islam, it is a step in the right direction for the rest of the world, from a pagan mentality to a world of Hashem. And that is, again, not the same but similar to this idea that growth must be done in steps, whether again it's by accepting Hashem or whether it is accepting the Torah. But we only grow slowly. We only grow one step at a time. A person has to know what level they're on. A person has to know what level the people around them are on. Maybe there's a mitzvah today that you laugh at. But my friends, we have to have, again, the humility to at least respect it. Maybe I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But hopefully one day I will. The more I commit to the Mishpatim, to what I can keep, to what I can understand, then eventually God will open my mind, give me the tools to embrace and to accept even those that are above my level. Okay, we'll stop over here, my friends. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.